continuing from where we stopped in the last video, we want to fetch the is_active value inside the sign up table. We wrote the query that says select all from sign up where activation key in the database is for the user is equal to the activation key we got from the URL, using this get super global and storing the value inside this variable. So now to fetch the is_active value, we create a variable, we call it is_active. Then we use the row to fetch the data. So we'll say row, then we fetch the is_active, because this is the only value we want to update in the database. By default, when the user registers or signs up, this value will be set to 0. But when they activate their account, it will be updated to 1. Right now, we are assuming the value is 0. So we are getting this value from the database. Next, we want to perform a check. We say if this is_active. So we only want to update if this value is equal to 0. So if is_active is equal to 0, then we are going to update. But else, if it's not, then we are going to show to the user an error message. So what we need to do, we can add an else statement here. So the first thing is we are going to write our query statement or our update statement. So say update SQL. So what we are going to update is this value. So we say update sign up set is_active equal 1. So we'll say update sign up, that is the sign up table, then set this is_active column for this particular user whose activation key in the database matches the one in the URL. So set the is_active column for that user, set it equals to 1 if the is_active value is 0. So we're still going to put this where clause, so we'll just copy this. We can just copy this and we'll say where activation key is equal to the activation key from the URL. So we are doing that. So we are updating the sign up table, set the is_activation key equal to 1 for the user whose activation key from the URL matches the one in the database. Then we send the query. So we say update query, and we'll say MySQLi query, passing the connection and the update SQL. So we pass this query. Now the next thing we want to do is, if the query is successful, that is if the update is successful and no error, we say to the user that the email has been verified successfully. So we say if update query, that means if this query that is being passed to the database is successful. So say to the user that the update or the email has been verified successfully. So we go here, copy what we have, just copy one of these messages, go back to our activate.php, we paste. We can change this to say update good. So this variable update good, then here we can say to the user your email has been verified successfully. So if this query holds, if it's successful, then the user will get this message that the email has been verified successfully. That is the case where the is_active is equal to 0. Then the else statement, that is where this value is already 1 in the database. And when we fetch the value and the value is already 1, then we display to the user, telling the user that the email has already been verified. We say to the user that the email has already been verified. We can change this to good updates and say to the user your email has already been verified. So this is the message that will be displayed to the user if the user's value is already 1. Then one last thing we need to do, we need to put a value here, or an error message that will, in case this value returned is not 1, it's equal to 0. So we just say else, we paste that error message. We can call this error, and the message is going to be, we just give it a short message that says error occurred. So this is the message that the user will see in case this value returns something less than 1. So here we are saying if we fetch the value, if the value is equal to 0, we update, setting the is_active value to 1, sending the query. Then if the query is successful, we display this message to the user. Else, if the value is 1, we use this variable good_update, show this message to the user. But if the count variable returns a value less than 1, then we just show to the user that error occurred. So this is how we perform the update when the user clicks on the link sent to him or her inside his or her email address.